Hey, what's going on guys? Welcome to a new video. So in this one, I want to share with you a testing strategy I've been using myself for the past few months. Ever since the introduction of CBO budget send, I've wanted to find out whether it truly is the best way of doing things. So does Facebook actually truly spend your budget correctly? And there is a way of actually doing this because Facebook is a numbers game. Numbers are very black and white. They don't lie. So for example, if Adset A gets a 20 pence cost per link click and Adset B gets a 30 pence cost per link click, then obviously Adset A is achieving better results. And what I've found then is by running these split tests, by testing the different budgets against each other, then it's actually a really good way of proofing your audiences and truly finding the best audiences to scale. If you've watched my videos in the past, then you'll know that I like to test things or I like to scale things. I like to test as many different audiences as possible, find the best ones, and then choose say 2 or 3 to scale and actually dedicate the majority of my budget into those. We know that ad sets optimize on ad set level, so it makes sense then to spend the majority of your budget on a handful of ad sets rather than split it across say 10 or 12 different ones. And with that being said, then let's jump straight into the video. So the way I'm going to structure this video, I've got a Google document here which will be downloadable, by the way. If you check out the video description, it'll be the first link. Everybody can download it. It won't cost you any money. So I'm going to run through this very quickly because essentially this is what the strategy looks like on paper, and then we're going to jump into my ad account which we've just seen, and I'm going to show you how to set it up in real terms. Just very quickly though, I want to say a massive thank you to everybody watching this video, everybody who's supporting the channel and subscribing. Recently we hit 10k subs, and I am in the process at the moment of thinking of a different giveaway or some sort of bonus or competition to do. So if you've got any kind of suggestions for that, I'd love to hear them, and make sure you leave a comment down below. I read every single comment too, so if there is a question you want to ask me, then just post it down below. I will answer it. And of course, if you enjoy these kind of videos on Facebook ads, if you want more videos, make sure you let me know, leave a comment, leave a like, and of course make sure you hit that subscribe button too. And with that being said, then let's get straight into the video. I do apologize for the long intro, but trust me, it'll be worth it. So essentially the way this works in is we're going to be running 2 completely different campaigns side by side against each other. Both of them will be CBO campaigns, but one of them will have this $5 per day cost control. Everything else will be the same, so all the variables will be the same. Essentially it's 3 ad sets, a £15 daily budget, i.e. £5 per ad set. If you want to test say 4 ad sets, just increase that daily budget to £20. The main thing here is obviously that we dedicate at least £5 or the same amount per ad set. Moving on, we want to make sure we use the same creative for each ad set as well. It wouldn't be a fair test if we're using different creatives. We want to use the purchase objective because within the conversion campaigns, they're the only campaigns in which Facebook actively mention the word optimization, in which a campaign and ad set can actually optimize. And that's going to be important, which I'll highlight later on in the video. Audience size, we want to stick to around 1 million plus or minus 250k. We want all genders and ages. Since we are testing, we want to find essentially where the most interest is coming from. And we want 2-level flex targeting. I'm not going to get into it, but basically it's the best way of targeting a high quality audience. I've done previous videos in the past on this. We want to go for newsfeed only because it's the biggest space on the screen, and when you're testing, you want to make sure that you're testing people who have actually seen your ad. So for example, if I go over to my Facebook newsfeed, just get rid of this. If we were to choose this section here then, which is the third-party column, then obviously not everybody's going to register it, not everybody's going to see our ad, so it's going to give us kind of false results or false reading. We want to make sure that we target purely where's this document? We want to make sure that we target purely people who have definitely seen our ad. It's going to give us more true results. Now, if we are retargeting, it's fine to use those certain spaces because people have seen our brand before. Therefore, they're more like subconsciously, they're more likely to spot it in that smaller space. But that's a whole different topic for another video. The next point is we want to make sure our conversion window is at 7-day click. That way, Facebook is going to consider more actions because it'll be over 7 days versus 1 day. And then the final point is there's going to be no cost control for this CBO campaign. So essentially what that means is that Facebook will be free to spend and divert our budget in its own right, in its own sense, whichever way it thinks is the best way to do it. Moving on to the ad set budget campaign. So this will be a CBO. Everything will be exactly the same apart from this bottom line here. We're going to be setting a rule to make sure that $5 per day is assigned to each ad set equally. So if you want to run a different amount of ad sets with a different daily budget, then all you do is take the daily budget, divide it by the amount of ad sets, and that is what your per day cost control should be. Now, just to give some background information of essentially how this works, both campaigns are exactly the same except one has an ad set spending limit, and the runtime for this is going to be 3 days minimum. Because it is a conversion campaign, we want to give it that chance to essentially perform at its best. Like I mentioned earlier on in the video, conversion campaigns are essentially the only campaigns in which Facebook actively talk about optimization. So why do this? Why does it actually make sense? Number one, Facebook is a numbers game, and numbers do not lie. They're very black and white. If the same ad set from both campaigns outperforms the other, so the data is better versus the others, then you can guarantee you've found a better audience, and therefore you know exactly which ad set to then go on to scale. So for example, then we're running 2 campaigns against each other. Each campaign has ad set A, B, and C. If ad set B from both campaigns performs the best, then we know definitely which ad set to then take on and scale and dedicate the majority of our budget to. The next steps, as it states in the Google document, is to take the best performing ad set and then go on to scale it. In terms of how to do that, there's multiple different ways to scale a particular ad set. Perhaps I could do a video on the topic. If you do want to see, say, a part 2 to this video on scaling, make sure you comment part 2 below, and if we get, I don't know, let's say 20 people commenting part 2, then I'll release the next part of the video. So essentially then, in its bare bones, that's exactly what this strategy looks like on paper. However, let's get into the practical side then and actually show you how to set this up in practical terms. So to start from the beginning, we're going to create a new campaign. We'll start over. We want conversions. It's going to be a purchase, so make sure you name your purchase campaigns to exactly what there are. I've set up like a test Facebook page, so it's going to be a purchase campaign, and we're going to sell Apple Watch straps. We want a campaign budget optimization. There's going to be 3 ad sets in this one, so we want to set our daily budget to £15. And once you've done that, then just click continue, and we'll move into the ad set, the targeting side of things. Just make sure you select the right pixels, select the right conversion event, and then we'll move into the audience side of things. So I'm going to leave it to the UK, because typically what I'll do is I'll just focus on one country. Because I'm from the UK, I'll start in the UK, and if I can sell it here profitably, then I'll start to scale out into different countries, all ages, all genders, and then detailed tags. And this is where all the money is made, to be, in my opinion. This is the differentiation between a skillful marketer and somebody who isn't skillful. So we're going for Apple Watches. Obviously, we're just going to start with Apple because it's going to be a pretty huge audience. Let's scroll down, see if there's just a general one. There is, which takes us to 2.9 million people according to the Google Doc. We want to get this down to 1 million people, so let's go narrow. And because it's an iWatch strap, then we could see if we can actually target the Apple Watch itself, which we can as an interest. That brings us down to 310,000 people, which is a bit too small, to be honest, at the testing stage. So what I want to do is try and increase this. So what we're going to go for is, in fact, let's go for suggestions and see what Facebook suggests for us. So we could go, essentially, we want to try and find people who own an Apple Watch. So engaged buyers will be a good one. It also takes our potential reach up to 880,000 people, which is within that tolerance of plus or minus 250k. And essentially, it's a pretty ideal audience, in fact, because we're targeting people who are interested in Apple, also interested in an Apple Watch, and they're engaged shoppers, so they have a history of clicking that shop now button. So this is ideal then for our first audience. We're going to move down then, we're going to edit the placements, make sure we stick to the Facebook news feeds. So we're going to get rid of audience network. I'm going to keep the Instagram news feed, in fact. So Instagram feed, marketplace, video feeds, right column, and Instagram Explore. We'll get rid of stories for now. We'll get rid of in-stream. We'll get rid of search and in article. Now there are a time and place for all of these different placements, but because we are testing, like I said, we want to make sure that people have actually seen our ad, registered what the product is, because then we're going to get a better understanding of how our ad essentially performs. Moving on to the next stage then. So this is where things will change when we come back to the duplicated campaign. But because this is the first CBO we're setting up, we're not going to set any rules. We're just going to continue on and complete this particular ad set. So the Facebook page I'm going to run this from is the YouTube test, which I set up just for this video. We want to make sure we use an existing post so that we're compounding all the engagement onto one particular post. I'm going to go ahead and use this one here. So genuine leather Apple Watch straps, view the full range, and then we've got a link to our particular product. All this looks pretty good to me, so I'm just going to go ahead and click confirm for the sake of this video. Now this is finally loaded, then essentially what we have is one purchase campaign set up with one ad set and one ad creative. The way the strategy works then is we want to go to the ad set level and we're going to duplicate this in the existing campaign, and we want to duplicate it twice. Now each time we duplicate it, then the only thing we want to change is the interest targeting. So essentially we're targeting a different interest. So edit, and this is the only section in which we want to change, but we want to make sure we keep that potential reach within 1 million people plus or minus 250k. And the reason being then is because we want to make sure it's a fair test as much as possible. It wouldn't be fair to go ahead and test a 100k audience against a 1 million audience against a 10 million audience, because $5 in comparison to each of those audience sizes is a big difference, and therefore it would be an unfair test. So we want to keep it within the parameters of the strategy within that document. So what I'm going to do now then is I'm going to go ahead, duplicate this a couple of times, and then show you what the outcome will look like. So once you've duplicated your ad set a couple of times, this is what you'll have. So you'll have one CBO campaign, you'll have 3 ad sets, and then you'll have 3 creatives, but each creative will be the same. Now the next step then, what we want to do is make sure we split test the campaigns. And to do this, then what you have to do is, unfortunately, you have to create a new campaign. If you duplicate it, it won't let you make changes to the way the budget is set out. So just simply create a campaign, start over, conversions, and then just name it PUR Apple Watch Strap 2. Go ahead, click CBO, set the daily budget to the same as the first campaign we created, which will be £15. And then it's dead easy from here on. So all you have to do is just obviously make sure you fill out all the details exactly the same as the first campaign we created. So ad set A needs to be the same as ad set A for this campaign, B the same as B, C the same as C. But then the difference for this particular campaign is you want to go to the very bottom to optimization and spending controls, click see more options, and what we're going to do is set an ad set spend limit. So edit, add spend limits to this ad set, and we're going to set a maximum of £5 per day. And what that's going to do then is make sure that if we set the same rule per ad set within the CBO, each ad set is going to get the fair same amount of spend. So just go ahead, click continue, add the same creative. So YouTube test, use existing post, select the post. It was the top one we used for the last campaign. Now this is important. We make sure that absolutely everything is exactly the same as the first campaign creative, apart from the way in which Facebook is going to spend its budget. Once this is confirmed then and takes us back to the campaign screen, we're going to select these top 2, which is the ones we've just created. We'll go filter by selection. Now essentially what we have is 2 campaigns that are exactly the same as each other, apart from the way they spend their money. We're going to run them for at least 3 days, and then we're going to compare the results, compare the ad sets, and then see which one is getting the best results. And whichever one gets the best results is the one we're going to select and actually go on and start to scale. And like I said earlier on in the video, if you want a part 2 on how to scale that one, just make sure you leave a comment down below. One final thing then, which I haven't shown you yet, which is fairly straightforward, is you just want to open up this campaign and then duplicate this twice, and make sure that the ad sets in this campaign Apple Watch Strap 2 match the ad sets in Apple Watch Straps, the original campaign we created. With that being said then guys, that wraps up the entire strategy. I really do hope it makes sense. I know it probably got complicated at points, so if there is any questions, make sure you comment them below. I will answer every single one. If you do actually go out there and use this strategy, make sure you come back, let me know how you get on, because from my experience, there's no better way of kind of guaranteeing that you've found yourself like a really high quality audience, and you're going to have a better hit rate in terms of the ad sets that you do go on to scale. With that being said then, I'm going to wrap the video up. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate the support. It does mean a lot. Make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Please do make sure you subscribe as well. I do upload on average about 4 or 5 videos a week. And finally, any comments, questions, whatever it is, if you just want to get in touch, leave a comment down below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.